Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. We're going to talk about Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, and its potential box office take. Now, it is a little premature to talk about the box office for Star Wars Episode 9, given that it's still several months away. But a lot of people, if you'd asked them 10 years ago what the biggest movie of all time would potentially be, it would be like the end-all be-all, the end of the Skywalker saga, the last Star Wars movie in the main series. They would be like, yeah, that one's going to be huge. It's going to be huge. And just to show you how much Disney has mishandled the Star Wars franchise, even Forbes is coming out and saying that Episode 9, you'd better subvert your expectations for it to beat even The Lion King at the box office. It's just not going to. It's, you know, Star Wars, the Skywalker saga may go out with a whimper. Now, I don't expect it to be a box office bomb, not like Solo, for a variety of reasons, but it certainly is not going to be the mother of all Star Wars movies. It's going to go out with kind of a whimper. Just judging by the interest in the movie, there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of interest in the Star Wars franchise these days compared to even 5 or 6 years ago. So before we get started, please subscribe to the channel. If you haven't already, we cover pop culture news, we have our views on pop culture, and we also have occasional rants. So we do talk about Star Wars, but not as much as we used to, and I'll tell you the truth. There's not a lot going on in Star Wars right now that interests us, so we haven't really been talking about it too much, and our audience doesn't seem to really be into Star Wars that much either. In fact, most Star Wars videos that we put out lately, they don't really see a lot of traffic. I think that overall, the public, the general public, is burnt out on Disney Star Wars, that the ship has sailed, that this is definitely a series in decline. Its best days are behind it. Now, that's not to say that at some point in the future, the right people might come along at Disney and reinvigorate the franchise, but right now, people don't care. They just don't care. There are a lot of Star Wars channels I've watched on YouTube for a number of years now, and I'm seeing their numbers decline as well. Like, people just aren't into Star Wars like they used to be, and if they are, they're into it to hate on it. I mean, let's be honest, like most people, most of the channels are doing well in regards to Star Wars content. They are the people who are speaking for the fans, the people who are critical of Disney's handling of Star Wars. And not the pro Star Wars channels, not the theory channels. They're not doing that well compared to what they were doing a few years ago, because Disney has successfully killed off interest in Star Wars, right? How do you do that? How do you take the most successful franchise, or one of the most successful franchises of all time, and run it into the ground in less than 10 years? You know, I mean, this should be an evergreen property. This should be something that lays golden eggs for years to come, and it's laid a few rotten eggs. I mean, beyond Solo not doing that well, you know, Galaxy's Edge is sort of taking a black eye in the media. Everybody's talking about how there really isn't that much interest in it, not enough to drive traffic specifically to Disneyland during peak season to check it out. People don't seem to care. Hasbro CEO said there was an error made with the Star Wars toys. Basically, they produced a lot of sequel stuff that you can't get rid of. It's rotting on toy shelves. Now, even in dollar stores, you can still find sequel stuff. There's not a whole lot of Star Wars merchandise on the shelf now, because I don't think Hasbro really knows what to do at this point. So they're bringing back the retro figures. They're bringing back the retro Kenner figures, because that seems to be popular with people. But the new stuff just isn't selling. It almost broke Hasbro. People blame it in part for the decline and bankruptcy of Toys R Us. I mean, Star Wars is not the brand it was 10 years ago. And, they sort of did the opposite with Star Wars at Disney, where, what they did with Marvel, where they took Marvel sort of, other than with comics fans, sort of out of obscurity, and they turned it into this mega huge franchise, this tentpole franchise, and it's now eclipsed Star Wars, and it's going to cannibalize Star Wars, and just people don't care. But now Forbes is calling it out. Forbes is saying that Star Wars 9 and Frozen 2 may both fail to top The Lion King. Now, Frozen 2, I don't know. I think Frozen 2 will do okay. Star Wars 9, this is not surprising at all. He's talking about how well, this is Scott Mendelson from Forbes, talking about how well The Lion King's doing. I mean, this is kind of sad if you're a Disney animation purist, because this means that they're going to make more god-awful live-action adaptations of Disney movies. You just encourage them to make more live-action movies because it's doing so well. But here we go. So The Lion King earned another $7.53 million on Thursday, dropped 50%. So the domestic total is $392 million worldwide. It's over $1 billion. It's over $1 billion. So that'll put Aladdin, which is over $1 billion, Spider-Man Far From Home over $1 billion, Captain Marvel over $1 billion to become the year's second best global grosser. And looking at the rest of the year's slate, that could have a shot in hell at supplanting The Lion King as the second biggest grosser of the year. So he's basically talking about how, other than Endgame and The Lion King, both Disney movies, nobody else is going to be able to top these two movies. And that includes Star Wars. That includes the last Star Wars movie in the main series. That's pretty scary. However, realistically speaking, the next two super duper blockbusters in contention for the silver medal are Frozen 2 in November and Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker on December 20th. While both films will be huge, can either of them hope to outgross the over-under $1.425 billion global finish of the Disney musical remake? Let's dive in and see what we're dealing with. They talk about Frozen 2. I think Frozen 2 will do well, provided they don't completely screw it up. So the only real obstacle in Frozen 2's way is Star Wars Rise of Skywalker. Well, Scott Mendelson says Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker has a slight advantage over The Last Jedi in that it doesn't have director Rian Johnson. No, it will open the Friday before school's let out for Christmas break. Do kids even care about Star Wars now? I don't even think my kids don't even care about Star Wars. The Last Jedi didn't get the kids out of school advantage. Oh, let's make excuses for it. Until its second Monday, which really hurt its post-debut legs and led to a lot of the Last Jedi killed Star Wars hand-wringing. No, Last Jedi did kill Star Wars. It did, because if it was a good movie, people would have made time for it. They would have gone back again and again and again, and it dropped off a freaking cliff because the word of mouth got out there that the movie was terrible. The movie was terrible, and it hurt Solo. When Solo came out, people were like, fool me once, but you're not going to fool me twice. Presuming that J.J. Abrams' final chapter in the Skywalker saga flick is halfway decent or relatively crowd-pleasing, they're talking that they think that it could actually earn more than The Last Jedi. But again, you know, Disney is going to cannibalize itself. I think they're going to cannibalize themselves. They've got Frozen 2 coming out a couple of weeks beforehand. So Mendelson goes on to say it's also just as likely by virtue of competition is still the biggest tentpole franchise in town mentality, and whatever else might transpire, The Rise of Skywalker will earn less of an upswing from The Last Jedi, if not less than The Last Jedi overall. The nightmare scenario is Jurassic Park 3, which earned $181 million domestic. That would give The Rise of Skywalker $490 million domestic, but just $882 million worldwide. So there's a lot of wiggle room here for Star Wars 9 between $1.66 billion and $882 million, and it's arguably likely that the film will end up somewhere between those two extremes, but as you can see, it's no guarantee that the 9th Star Wars episode will end up above where The Lion King finishes, especially if the $1.4 billion guesstimate turns out to be an underestimate. And while it's possible that Frozen 2 will match or aggressively exceed Frozen's $1.2 billion box office, is not guaranteed. It's not guaranteed now because variables are almost opposite of where they were in 2013. There is some other competition. They have a second Jumanji coming out. You know, Frozen may cannibalize Star Wars. And again, Scott Mendelson can say whatever he wants to, but there is definitely a decline in interest in Star Wars. I think people are tired of Disney Star Wars. I don't think that it's going to do as well even as The Last Jedi. I don't think it's going to be a bomb, but it's not going to be a slam dunk either. I don't think. I mean, just going out to see okay, so let's go out to YouTube and see where people really are. The Rise of Skywalker teaser trailer came out on April 12th. It's had 30 million views. That's a pretty good number, right? Rise of Skywalker, 30 million views. Well, let's see what The Lion King had. The Lion King came out 2 days beforehand and has had 54 million views. 54 million. That's almost twice as many. Almost twice as many people were interested in The Lion King as were interested in The Rise of Skywalker, I think, or at least watch the video. And you got to realize too, like, Star Wars, you're not going to get that huge overseas box office, at least not in China, because China doesn't like Star Wars. They don't like this Star Wars. They don't like the Disney Star Wars. They're not into it. So you're not going to be able to bank on China like you can with some of the other Disney movies like Lion King and Aladdin. So 54 million views. Let's go out to, Avengers Endgame. Okay, the last trailer they had for Avengers Endgame. 125 million views on March 14th. 125 million. That was the second trailer, the final trailer for Endgame, and we saw how well Endgame did. I don't think Star Wars is going to come anywhere close to Endgame. I don't think enough people care about the franchise at this point, and I could be completely wrong. I could be completely wrong in a few months, but it just seems like the general public doesn't really care. And even other news outlets like The Observer is calling out that, Star Wars is kind of damaged goods. They said Disney's Star Wars rode a wave of nostalgia and a 10-year absence of big screen Star Wars to reach a staggering $2 billion worldwide. Can the Rise of Skywalker, which is being marketed and sold as the conclusion to the 9-picture saga, match those lofty totals? We crunched the numbers early and have our doubts. They basically said that they do not think that The Last Jedi is going to be the huge movie. It's not going to be the end game for Star Wars. It might be the end game for theatrical Star Wars for a while, depending on how it does. Now, of course, the Game of Thrones guys are doing Star Wars movies. If I were Disney, given how poorly received the last season of Game of Thrones was, I might want to cool my heels on that a little bit. But they just said they don't think it's going to be quite the hit that Disney was expecting. And you're kind of seeing it with the marketing too. Like, I'm not seeing a whole lot of push. Really, the only sites that are keeping Star Wars alive are these, like Inverse constantly. Every other day they're talking about these ridiculous rumors, and I just don't think that anybody's interested. I don't think people are taking the bait. Not like they were. There was a lot of interest between The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi in what was going to happen with Rey, who Snoke was, if we were going to see Darth Vader, etc., etc. And I don't think people give a shit at this point. I really don't. It doesn't seem like the general public really cares that much about Star Wars anymore. They moved on. And it used to be not too long ago that any little snippet of Star Wars news or any Star Wars rumor would set the internet on fire. And now it's like they have to create these ridiculous theories just to get people to click on the articles, because people just don't care. Not like they used to. So it'll be interesting to see how the Rise of Skywalker does. But I mean, Forbes is already telling you to subvert your expectations for it to be the biggest movie of the year. It might be in the top 5. I don't know. It's going to be really interesting to see. I think Frozen might actually make more money than Star Wars. And I can't believe that the final movie in the Star Wars Skywalker saga may turn out to be kind of a bust. We'll see. We'll see what happens in December. So please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants here on Clownfish TV. This has been Neon. Geeky should be back shortly, and we'll talk to you guys later. Hey guys, thanks for watching Clownfish TV. Please consider supporting the channel. Go to clownfishsupport.com. That's clownfishsupport.com. And if you want to join our community, go to clownfishtalk.com. That's clownfishtalk.com. Please subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. We will talk to you next time.